Charles Shorty Garris of Innovative Recordings, and Mark Gusikoff, noted data engineer and entrepreneur. Next on the Chavis Chronicles. One of the living legends of music of many different genres, Shorty Corleone. Welcome to the Chavis Chronicles.
Dr. Chavis, thanks for having me.
First, tell us about your upbringing and how you got into the music business.
Oh man, born and raised in Southeast Washington, D.C., the Highland community. Music was always going on in my house, right? It was 3 floors, so the main floor, grandma had WL cranking, so the inspiration, she gonna have the vibes right, and we gonna get the word when you walk through that door. In the basement, my uncles, they had the P-Funk going on, and upstairs, it was the Motown Review. So each floor, I would get music, right? As soon as I stepped outside, the soundtrack of Washington, D.C., which is go-go music, right? I would hear that, constantly with the cars coming up and down the street. And as soon as you go in the alley, there's some guys beating on the bucket. So music was, pretty much around. I was always the youngest guy hanging around the older guys, right? So in order to be in the room, I had to have musical stories. I would take the stories that my uncle shared and I would, have the conversations with the older musicians. And so I got invited to join a band, and I was 14 years old. I wrote this song, and somehow Verdi White from Earth, Wind & Fire got the demo, right? So I ended up signing a deal with Warner Brothers at 14 years old, right?
So you became a songwriter?
Yeah.
At the age of 14?
At the age of 14.
And one of the biggest groups in the country?
Biggest groups in the country signed me. I was actually had a artist and a publishing deal, and I was bitten by the bug ever since, right? And from there, and it was a go-go song, right? Crazy, right? So I was asked to come and join Rare Essence, and my first 3 to 4 songs end up becoming staples in music and in go-go history. So
I want to go back, in the Chavis Chronicles, we have a diverse audience.
Yes.
So people may have heard of go-go, but don't know what it is.
Okay.
Tell us, what is go-go music, and how did it have its indigenous origin in Washington, D.C.?
There's so many stories on how go-go was actually started, but I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Ricky Wellman. He was one of the drummers for Chuck Brown when they was creating go-go. And
the
legendary Chuck Brown, the Honorable Chuck Brown. And so they had to find a way to keep the people on the dance floor, right? Because back in the day, you would play a song, stop, the audience will applaud, and then you'll start the song again. So to avoid having to start again, it was like, we're gonna try this beat, right? And it was pretty much the Grover Washington beat, which is the boom, tap, boom, boom, tap, boom, boom, right? So they had this conversation, and Ricky said, it'll never work. In between the song, Chuck told him, play that beat you talked about, son. And so he played the beat. Right? And Ricky did not look up at the crowd. He just was playing, looking down. And Chuck said, son, look at the crowd. And he looked up. And that was the story. That was the birth of the go-go beat, because that kept the people on the floor. And that term, it keeps going and going and going. That helped birth that.
You said go-go is a celebration.
Yeah.
What are we celebrating?
We're celebrating life. We're celebrating whatever's you've been challenged with for the week. Folks come in on Friday night and they let their hair down, they get their fix. Or Saturday night, from having a rough week. Or, you have folks that have their wedding receptions in a go-go. You have folks that bring their whole entire office staff to the go-go. It's just a place where there is this high level of networking, right? And if you've been to a Frankie Beverly and Maze concert, you get it. Like, it's church, right? And that's the same thing that happens when you go to the go-go. Like, folks will come and see the same band 3 times a week. To hear the same music 3 times a week, you're gonna hear it differently, but at the end of the day, you're gonna hear the same music, right? But it's that network and fellowship that happens whenever they come to the go-go.
They say music is the universal language.
Yeah.
And as you know, there are many different genres. But what I want you to focus on, how important it was in your own evolution to have access not only to the culture, but making sure other people in your age group or even younger also had access.
I had the opportunity to do a go-go in schools, music in schools initiatives with DCPS Arts. The whole program was to support go-go in schools, right? And so we had a residency of 10 schools, and we went into the schools and had the students have an opportunity to create original compositions. And it was amazing. And the end goal was to have all the students on stage. So we had 50 kids on stage at one time at Monumental Sports Arena over in Southeast. It just blew everyone away. The people in the audience partied, and you had kids meeting each other for the very first time, and that whole thing that if you're not from around this way, you're not around that way, we don't communicate, et cetera. But the universal language is music. The kids bonded. You have folks, sharing ideas, with horns and beats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the mashup was incredible. And so that also showed the power of music. It showed that this too can work, but we gave the kids something else different to lean towards, but also help to save the music and the deficit that the school music programs have been cut.
Other school districts across the country doing what you're doing in D.C., or is still we have to try to inform them?
Well, I think we have the proof of concept now, right? I think we have the model that shows that it works. And it supports the music teachers that are currently in the schools trying to figure a way how to keep the attention span of these, aspiring young musicians, et cetera. I just had a meeting with Councilman Calvin Hawkins over in Prince George's County. And we're working on, bringing a similar program that we're doing here in Washington, D.C. to Prince George's County. He's super excited about this opportunity.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because, I think success stories are important to be replicated.
Yeah.
And you've seen in your own life to not only gain success, but you're translating that opportunity to others.
Yes.
And I think it's very noteworthy.
Yeah.
That what you're doing. How do you see the future of music?
The ceiling has been removed. Again, with so many incredible creatives, figuring out how to turn nothing into something, right? The best records were produced when you had a lack of something, right? When the keyboard would get stuck, so you had to use the other keys, or the drum machine, you didn't have access to the beats you wanted. So it challenges the creative to figure it out, right? So I think we're going to hear so many new wins for the music industry as far as apps, as far as concerts, as far as ways to break a record. Because the world is much smaller now with the internet. So again, I feel that ceiling is gone, and we're going to hear so many new stories on how this person did it or how this person was able to create this or that.
So the sky's the limit.
The sky's the limit.
How do you see artists being responsible like yourself?
For the seasoned veterans, right, they have a responsibility to make sure that this next generation of creatives understand the power of this music and how infectious this music is. So that education has to happen, but not just how to play your instrument, but know the history of the artists that came before you, right? Know the history of Chuck Brown, like his first song, right? Which was the national record of Bustin' Loose. But before that, he played with a Latin band, Los Latinos, right? So when you share those timelines of other artists before them, journeys, it shares that, okay, they were once in your shoes. They had to be creative and figure it out. But also the folks that are in junior high and high school that have, an aspiration of music, these legendary artists, again, was once in their shoes, and a lot of bands were formulated, from high school, middle school, meeting up in the band room after class. So those stories, sharing back, to the next generation of creatives, help inspire them to keep going. But also, someone is going to give them some time to give them that tool list that they need, right? And that's another thing we want to make sure that we change the narrative that we're around if you need some help.
In states like Florida and some other states, they're banning books, changing curriculum, taking music out of a lot of the schools.
I heard about that.
What's your response?
Man, it's the folks that have access to those communities, they gotta maybe roll up their sleeves a little more and make sure the accuracy of history gets to the people.
Today, Shorty, what gives you your greatest hope?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow gives me my greatest hope that I give another shot at it. I have another opportunity. I get one more day to take a crack at it, right? To be better tomorrow than I was today.
Shorty Corleone.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for joining the Chavis Chronicles.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Chavis. I appreciate it.